It really is a good parish. With that said, we can always do better, right? We can always learn. So that's part of what we'll do here tonight, all right? The first thing about liturgical music that we need to talk about is it really is all about participation, and it's about the congregation's participation, right? There is everything we do in our culture that has people sitting like you are and me where I am is about entertainment, right? That almost always is the situation you're in, where you're the audience and I'm the person up here doing my thing. But in Mass, it really is not about that at all. It's all about people in the pews participating in the music that's happening. So anytime we can participate, we're really doing ourselves. That's what Mass is about. Stacia, my wife, will say, the music was good today or whatever, and my response to that most of the time is, well, did you hear the congregation singing? Because that's really all it's about for me. I really want to sing songs, present music styles that the congregation can sing and sing well, because that's important. And it's important because music communicates us on a level that's different than speech, all right? It does different things in our brain. Who can remember, well, let me say this. Does anybody know anybody, and it's a horrible disease, but with dementia or Alzheimer's? What are some of the last things that go, do you know? Music and hearing, but music, they can sing songs from 75 years ago and they don't remember hardly anything else. So that's in there in a different way than words are. So when we sing at Mass, that's what we're trying to do, is change you. We're trying to change ourselves. It's not about asking God. We're not changing God here. We're worshiping God, and we're changing ourselves to be better people, all right? So when we sing music, all of that's soaking in, right? And we can feel all that music and all the stuff that we're talking about, okay? All right. And again, just that creating versus consuming, it really is about being able to create music. There's a lot of work being done right now from Brené Brown, if you're familiar with that name. She does a lot of work on vulnerability and how important being vulnerable is in people's lives. And I think singing at church is a really good way to be vulnerable, all right? I get it. I love to sing. My kids sing. I think I sing too much. I sing in the shower in the morning. I sing when I go to work. I sing when I'm walking around or this place. I sing a lot. Most people like to sing, but some people don't, are a little bit, it's just a vulnerable thing, right? There's a very slim percent of the population that actually is tone deaf, that can't hear the notes, the difference in notes. I would guess none of you in here are that. All it takes to sing is a little confidence and a little bit vulnerability, okay? So we come into these spaces together so we can sing together, all right? And sometimes it's scary, but if you know what it's doing to you, hopefully it helps you, all right? So it's good for your brain, right? There's all kinds of studies about how much good it does for your brain to sing. And I'll talk more about communal singing in a little bit, but I think it's been too long since we've sung, so let's keep singing, all right? So chant was the first place we went, so we chanted first. The next evolution, kind of, and this is very simplified, but the next evolution was to say, okay, well, you sing in that part, I'm going to sing the same thing again, only at a different spot, all right? And that was called polyphony. All right, so what we're going to do is have this place sing, this side of the church sing, row, row, row your boat, as this is polyphony. This is a huge evolution in music. And then right after that, you're all going to sing row, row, row your boat. We call it a round, right? This is the last time I'll make you do this, too. All right, so let's start. Row, row, row your boat, row, row, row your boat, gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Good. There is a lot of music written like that, all right? Obviously a little more complicated than that, but where music was going, you write a melody and you sing another melody along with it, maybe a little bit different, okay? Music then advanced again. And again, very simplified, and this is shortened, but I'm going to try something tonight and see if we can do this. I'm really excited about this. I think we can do this. All right? I really do think we can do this. After we all sang melodies together, we said, okay, if you sing this note, oh, and I sing this note, oh, that sounds kind of good when you sing them together. And why don't we sing more parts of that? All right, and we sing it all together. It makes this beautiful 4-part, 5-part music. So St. Anthony's, we're going to try this, all right? I need you, if you can, to get into parts. Now, parts are what music voice you sing in, and maybe you don't know. If you're a woman and you sing high, you are a soprano. If you sing a little bit lower, you are an alto. So you may not know that, but decide, all right? Males, the same thing. If you sing high and male, you are a tenor. And if you sing low male, you are a bass, all right? So, if we could, I would like to move around. If I could have the sopranos sit in this area, the altos sit in this area, the tenors sit in this area, and then the bass is over here, and maybe a little bit more scrunched up. We're going to try it. We're going to try it. So go ahead. Tenors are here. Altos are right over here. I know I am. It's crazy. We'll see what happens.
Try not to disappoint you, okay?
There's no way it's happening. Tell them that. Can I tell them that?
And taught it to him in an hour.
Not right now, but I'm going to have you do that.
But yeah.
And that's the way they can sing with us now.
Can you pass these out for me, Ted?
One for everybody.
Yeah. Carla, can you pass these? Or actually, can you pass these out for me, girls? Actually, I need one note too.
Okay, it shouldn't be this difficult. Start
Okay, does everybody have a sheet? Good job. Okay, one of the really cool things I want to tell you about choral singing. They do studies on people who sing chorally. Anyway, like mass settings like this. If you sing long enough with people like this, your hearts start to beat at the same pace. Think about that for a second. Everybody's heart in here starts to beat at the same rhythm. That is crazy to think about. I think it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. That if you sing like this, that eventually, and not like right away, but eventually if you sing a concert together, your hearts will be beating in sync. That is a really cool thing. I mean, you talk about communion, you talk about the way that Mass happens. Oh, that's good stuff. All right, you can see I'm geeking out a little bit. All right, so what we're going to try this is the Pilgrim's Hymn. This is a beautiful piece of music. It's one of my favorites. It's not super difficult. I say that with a little bit. I'm just saying we can do this, is what I mean. Not having tried it, we'll see how it happens. I think it's going to be beautiful no matter what happens, okay? If you haven't sung like this before, It's a lot. First of all, it's very different from listening to it. Being in the choir is very different than listening to the choir. And I hope you get that experience of being able to hear the people around you and hear what the sound sounds like in space. It's just a beautiful thing, okay? So what we'll do is, I think the best way to try this is I'll start with the sopranos and introduce their part, and then we'll add the altos and sing that together, and we'll just keep adding parts, and then we'll try to sing it. We're not going to sing the whole thing. We're just going to sing to prayer on the back of the page. It gets a little harder after that, so let's just sing it to prayer, okay? Okay, so Monica's going to start plunking the notes. Sopranos, your note is the highest note. It's a soprano up there, so it starts on that F, and we'll sing it from there, okay? So I'll try to sing with, can you do
Is
this?
this microphone on? I can
that
sing
all right?
it too.
I don't know this song, but
I can
I'll
sing it
sing
into
it.
this microphone too.
Yeah, can you do it? Yeah.
Sure. So
Yeah.
it goes like this. Even before we call on your name. So now sing that. Even before we call on your name. The next part. To ask you, O God. To ask you, O God. Do both of those together. Even before we call on your name, to ask you, O God. When we seek for the words to glorify you. Repeat that. When we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer. Let's do the whole second half from when we seek. When we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer.
All right, that's the soprano part. So we'll sing the altos with that and see how it sounds together, okay? Do you want to try the altos alone, right?
Sure.
Okay, let's do altos alone. Altos, you're the best part, I gotta tell you. You really are. All right.
Even before we call on your name.
I can't hear you.
I don't think we need to repeat that.
Yeah, it's one note. Let's see.
Even before we call on your name.
Yep.
To ask you, O God.
There we go. Thank you.
To ask you, O God. And the next part. When we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer.
All right, let's try it together. All right, sopranos and altos. Go ahead.
Ready? And. Before we call on your name, to ask you, O God, when we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer.
That's really beautiful. Thank you. That's really beautiful. All right, guys. Let's just do the tenors alone. I'll sing it.
Even before we call Let's repeat that. Even before we call on your name, to ask you, O God.
That's kind of a weird note.
To ask you, O God. I didn't hear
Keep
what
going.
you said.
That's all right. Keep going.
Keep going.
Yep.
When we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer.
Good. All right, basses. Even we call on your name to ask you, O God. When we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer. Basses are just lowness. It's just low. All right, boy, let's do the men together, and then we'll try it all together. And then we'll take a sample of our heart rates, and it'll all be the same. All right. Even before we call on your name to ask you, O God, when we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer. That's nice, man. Good job. Really good job. All right, should we try it? Let's have the whole thing. I don't really know how to conduct, but I'll just, when I drop my hands, so you can start singing. Glory on my name to ask you, O God, when we seek for the words to glorify you, you hear our prayer. All right, nice job, everybody. That's really impressive. I mean, really, that's really nice for having sung through that once. Yeah, if you could all sit in parts, and people who aren't here are going to feel really confused, but that's all right. I think that's a good idea. So you can understand all the beauty that came with that type of singing. I just love that. Choral singing is kind of really close to my heart. So that's where we are musically, all right? And here's the thing about liturgical music. You know what? I'm going to hold on to that thought. I'm going to tell you that later. So again, they really do studies on choral singing at masses, singing in groups, singing all. I mean, we know it because the Holy Spirit says come together and sing, but they can study this stuff too. All right, so you have a much stronger sense of togetherness when you sing at Mass. It regulates your heart rate, reduces stress levels, which I guess we would all guess, right? Reduces stress levels, improves your brain health. It improves your feeling of social well-being. It'll even make you live longer. Father Steve, can we lead with that? Like, if you sing this weekend, you're going to live longer? So, I mean, there's really no reason not to sing. It really is something that I think people naturally know is really healthy, but also they can study it, like I said, and it does do that. Okay? All right, so the next leap in music, we're there, all right? So we have these massive cathedrals, right? We're only using our voices to sing like this and try to fill the space and make that noise. But then something else came along, all right? So we'll sing the next song here is on page 537 of your hymnals, and we'll sing that together quick. Let's sing 3 verses. This should be really easy compared to what you just did. So we should know this one. There you go, as loud as you can get her. There we go. Nice work. So, as you might guess, into these huge cathedrals and churches, they were able to put organs. All right. So there are this new sound. Right. This would have been. I kind of think we'll talk more about when they introduce guitars in a second, but think about the difference between chanting and then having an organ in the back, right? I mean, that would have been from like, oh, to wah, you know? It would have been a very different, and that's a good thing I think to remember for all of us, is that music in the Catholic Church has been changing the whole time. Right? We've introduced things, we've introduced new sounds and styles and instruments. So to think that one style is somehow better than another really is kind of like, it's kind of like being at Christmas. You know, everybody has their favorite uncle, but you're all family, right? So it's kind of the same way with Catholic music. You may have a style that you prefer. You may have something that says, oh, that really speaks to my heart. But to say that's the way music should be at Catholic liturgies is kind of like saying, you know, you're the only uncle I want instead of all the rest, because it's all a part of our faith. So we'll keep walking through here and explaining kind of where we're going from here, okay? So the organ was introduced. We get a long period of music history where they're just singing in the organ, and then eventually pianos come into more vogue, and we start to get more piano music. So let's sing our next song, which is 396, and we're entering kind of the older hymn stage. So we'll sing a good older hymn. So we've entered we still sing some of these really classic hymns from the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. Some of them are really talk about how music can form you. All Is Well With My Soul, Amazing Grace. These songs that you can tell were written to not be on the radio, right? They were written to be sung by congregations just like St. Anthony's. All right, they're easy to sing. In the sense that they have they're really melodies that are easier, and they also teach a lot of theology. So at this time, there was a lot of dense words. So if you look at the lyrics, they look a little different than we would now. So music was really at this section of in this stage, really written for congregational singing, and really written to teach theology with it. All right. So a lot of the Thy in Thee One, just the things that modern music isn't really trying to do. So these are the older hymns. Does anybody have a favorite from that time that they can just sing that they always sing? I'm always curious of older hymns that people like. That's kind of an odd question. I just put you on the spot. Yeah, How Great Thou Art is a classic, right? Those just certain songs that just soar and bring you, closer to God, and that's what it's about. That's what they should do. So there are certain songs that still really resonate from that time period. Okay, So do we like that time? I like that time. In fact, I've liked all the times so far. But we're going to keep moving through music history, Catholic music history, all right? This is an old classic. You'll like this one. So let's get out our 385, and we'll introduce a new instrument. Just need to find my music. So this one was written in 1981, right? So we'll sing it, then I'll talk about it a little bit. Awake from your slumber, arise from your sleep. A new day is dawning for all who believe. The people in darkness have seen a great light. The Lord of our longing has conquered the night. Let us fill the city of God. May our tears be turned into dancing. For the Lord, our light and our love, has turned the night into day. We are sons of the morning. We are daughters of day. The one who has loved us has brightened our way. The Lord of all kindness has called us to be a light for his people to set their hearts free. Let us fill the city of God. May our tears be turned to dance. For the Lord, our light and our love, has turned the night into day. Who remembers the first time they saw a guitar at Mass? All right. All right. My grandma, I loved my grandma very much. She did not like guitars at Mass. And I never had a clue why grandma didn't like guitars at Mass. But I think I do now, right? Because it's the same thing. It was introduced, it's a folk instrument, right? It's played, and it suddenly seemed like they were doing something different. But, you know, Vatican II had happened. There was an opening up of the liturgy in the ways it was, the music was performed. One other thing about Grandma. Grandma would tell me she didn't like guitars at Mass and then take me to the Farley Polka Mass. Some of you may have been there before. I had no idea how Grandma could, I mean, it's a great thing, but when I'd go there and listen to that, I'd be like, Grandma, wow. You know, the holy, holy, and she was loving that. I thought, Grandma, guitars aren't too bad if you can sing the holy, holy to roll out the barrel. I think guitars are going to be all right. But it has been, and it is, you know, it's a very normal thing now in music. Guitars are seen as a pretty regular musical instrument, but it was a progression. Again, it was something that was introduced. It just is another style of music. It's another way to praise God. It's another way to let that music sink into your heart, to shape you, which is why we go to Mass, so that we're all changed, right, over time, right? So that introduced the old guitar, okay? Just checking on the time. Everything takes longer than I thought it's going to. But, so that was the 70s, 80s. That's when I was a kid. Kind of that glory and praise music. There's still a lot of that music that I can sing, that I find myself singing at random times. Like Leaping the Mountains will jump into my head at times when I don't want Leaping the Mountains in my head. You know that one? Leaping the mountains, bounding the hill. anyway. Some of those, so I know that it works. The reason I tell you that is I know that this music that we sing works. It worked on me. It put those songs in my head. It put the words in my head. They're in my heart, and I still come back to them all the time. So I'm really aware with my own kids what we listen to, right? So, and that doesn't mean, so much of the music on the radio is, you can kind of see as secular and not such a good message, but there actually is a lot of songs on the radio that are like, this could be a Christian song, right? Even though it doesn't specifically talk about Jesus or that, I want my kids to hear in all music that sacred. Obviously some of it in the lyrics are not sacred, but some of it is. And when we're singing at home in our own faith development with my family, we sing as much as we can. So once Advent starts, instead of a prayer before meals, we'll sing O Come, Emmanuel at the table. That's what we sing. And then once Christmas happens, we sing Joy to the World for the whole Christmas season instead of our prayer. It's just our family tradition. When Lent comes around, we pick a Lenten song and we sing that. I want that music in them. And, they can do whatever they want, but sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't, but I know it's working. So it's really a way to use music for me as a faith development thing. So we're kind of running out of time. Just a few minutes left here. Brings us to the end. And again, what I hoped you got from this was a walk through everything, the idea of singing, maybe a little confidence to sing even more at church. Like I said, we do a good job, but if you know what it's doing, if you know why we're singing communally, if you know what it's doing to our hearts, if what it's doing to our heartbeats, what it's doing to our brains, what God is working in us in liturgical music, then hopefully we can just keep raising the level of church music that we play here, okay? The last kind of style that we're going to talk about is what's popular now, and that's the Loris group. I'll introduce them quick, just so before we do this, because the other people might be coming up. So how many are there of you? I'm trying to think. I won't introduce you individually. I'll just introduce you as a group. So these are the Loris groups. There's a praise and worship group that sings, and a doo-ha cappella, they're called, which is a a cappella group. They've come. I like them. I kind of asked them to sing out with you, just to have more singers in the congregation. But they're going to show you the last style of music that's come up, which is praise and worship. It's called. It sounds more like a band. It's more what modern people listen to. That's usually what music liturgically comes down to: is what are people listening to when they're not here. And praise and worship sounds a lot like what you hear on the radio. All right, so we're going to sing our last song with this group. If all the duo-hawks can come up, I'll put the words up on the screen because this one's not in your book. But I hope through all of it, you can get a sense of maybe what your favorites are. Again, try not to have too strong a favorite and appreciate all of it. But you get a sense of a different style when we talk about praise and worship music. Is everybody up from downstairs? Is Steph up from downstairs? Okay. Anybody got a good joke? Just, she'll be up in 1 second, then we'll continue on. What's that? Sing the choir, the choral song? I don't know about that. That'd be fun, but what do you want?
If you brought a dish, don't forget it downstairs. I'm supposed to remind Dave, but I just took the mic instead. So, dishes, they're in the basement.
Okay, so usually what we do at this time, did Steph assign somebody to come up and talk? Usually we have somebody come up. Anybody volunteer from them who was downstairs to talk about kind of what you did downstairs, and then we'll have a volunteer from the adults talk about what we did up here. There's laughter from this area, so I'm assuming it's somebody over here. No? I wasn't downstairs, so I can't do it. Is this guy coming up, or is he going to the bathroom? I didn't mean to embarrass you, buddy. You're good. Thank you for doing it.
We talked about music and how music is all around the world. How we can keep learning as a family.
Thank you very much, Joel. I appreciate it. Thanks, Joel. I got to say, Carla early on said she taught her kids. Do you want to tell them how you did it? Well, she taught them how to both the song. So she was saying that she taught them how to spell their last name with a song, and you've never forgotten it, right? Schmearbox. Schmearbox. Yeah, we all know that we learn by singing. We all know that sticks in our brain. Steph, do you have anything else from up here? Just anybody from the adult session that wants to kind of comment on what we talked about or what we did? I can bring the mic to you. Nicholas, you want to do it? Anybody? There's not one volunteer. No vulnerability. Thank you. Thanks, Mary.
We just talked about how music has progressed throughout history, and from the very beginning until the current time. And we talked about chanting, and we all are familiar with that. And then we talked about choral, was that right? Choral music, and how we beautifully all sung the Pilgrim's Hymn very quickly. In parts. And then what else was it? Organ, in the introduction of organ in the cathedrals. And then I think it was probably in the 60s, 70s, we introduced the piano and had, singing a lot of the older songs to the piano as well as the organ. And then we introduced the guitar. And how that was a little bit a challenge for some, but it spoke to our hearts, and I guess the music that evolves speaks to our hearts. And then we have a whole bunch of other instruments that come in, and now the Loras singers praise and glory. And it sounds like all the Christian music is kind of from the phone or on the radio, and us, it's kind of melding. It's kind of like Christian music instead of, it is Catholic, but.
Thank you, Mary. Okay. Well, I thank you. This is the largest faith formation event we have at St. Anthony's. To have 200 people here is an amazing thing. It's such a great night. So big thank you to everybody who helped make this night happen, and a bigger thank you for all of you for being here. I hope that the Holy Spirit touched your heart somehow, and that through music we can continue to develop our faith traditions and our personal faith as well. So we will end with song, obviously, and we'll sing 10,000 Reasons. It's number 590, and from there, you are all free to go home. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Please stand. What's that?
Did you announce grab the dishes after?
Yep. It's not the correct number. Can someone find the correct number for me? I don't know. We're looking for the right number. It's 10,000 reasons. 560. You know I had it right, but I put the 9 instead of the 6, everybody. All right. 560.
Gift for them too, the playlist.
The last thing I want to say is on your tables downstairs, if you grabbed it, we created a YouTube playlist for all of the music that you heard tonight. Okay, so everything that we've done, and we're going to hand them out at the door, Jen just said. So if you want to find it on YouTube, all the songs, not just different versions of all those songs. It's a great way to relive the night. It's a great way to play it for your family. It's just a good thing to have. So you can have that as well. Thanks again, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Is it for that? Yeah. Why don't you go check? Go check and just ask if there's dessert. Probably desserts. Go check.